with subject matter experts from throughout the world. And today I'm so pleased to have with me someone that you all will recognize by name, I'm sure, although I know you'll deny it. And Steve Antonoff, who is a pioneer in college counseling. He's an author. He's a leader in this industry. He's been a mentor for me for many years. Welcome to our interview, Steve.
Glad to be here, Cyndy.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you go from college admissions to college counseling?
Yeah. Well, I had 12 wonderful years at the University of Denver, and I loved it a lot. I was Dean of Students first, and then because of some issues with the admissions office, like wanting to get more students, I moved over and I was Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid for 5 years and loved my time there. During the last couple of years when I was in admission, I really missed interacting with students. And sort of the higher up that I went in the administrative channels, the less contact I had with students. And during that period of time, I learned a little bit. There were just a very few people doing independent educational consulting, but some very fine people. And I met them and talked to them and decided at that point that that I'd really rather be an independent educational consultant, and it's been a great run.
Well, and I imagine that there were a lot fewer consultants at that time when you were looking into this.
It was like the early 80s, and I would guess that there were maybe 20 people in the country. There may have been a few more, but 20 people. Most of the people that were involved with the professional association at that time were doing boarding school work. Mm-hmm. So I entered it at a great time, and it's really been a joyful career for me.
So what prompted you to write you're the author of 2 books, College Match and College Finder. So what prompted you to write the College Match? Was that the first book that you wrote?
It is, and the book has been out for 25 years, and I wrote it because when I started, I felt a need for some structure. There was really even though there were lots of people who were doing this, there were some people that were doing this work, I didn't feel like there was any real structure to independent consulting. And so I began by developing a series of worksheets that I used with my students, and that led to the book being published. And the book is really what I have done over the years in working with students.
And what are the benefits that you see from doing these worksheets, doing these surveys with students? We have the College Match survey included in Guided Paths so that students can do it now online. So we've taken it from a paper-based process to even an online. So what are the benefits that you've seen as you've worked with students in that?
To use the self-survey?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that this whole process is designed to learn as much as we can about the student so that we can make the best recommendations for colleges. And as I was thinking about that, and it seemed to me that maybe I could come up with a in those days paper and pencil instrument that would be helpful. And that self-survey has undergone a lot of changes over the last 25 years, and the intent, however, continues to be to give the consultant conversation starters with students, and to give students a little bit more insight into themselves.
Well, and I think that points to the development stage of the students that we're working with. You know, they're in their adolescent stage, they're teenagers. They haven't had a lot of opportunities before they get to the college and career planning to do some self-reflection and think about themselves or what they really want in the future. And and that's why I was drawn to the college match survey for the same reasons. Like, how can you make recommendations for a student and not know them? And more importantly, how is the student going to know where they're going to fit if they haven't done some self-reflection and understand a little bit more about themselves? That's how are you going to get to know a student well enough without having some, vehicle that gives you an opportunity to ask questions and for the student to answer questions.
Yeah. And I think also that it provides some constructs for students and IECs to think about. In other words, the whole construct of being a participant learner. Doing the self-survey allows you to discuss that with a student. Same with affection for learning, same with social consciousness and some of the other indicators. So in some ways, it's a new vocabulary for students to begin to think about, and to think about how those qualities might or might not affect their choice of colleges.
Mm-hmm. So where did those constructs or those concepts derive from? Did you just pull them from, how did you come up with all those?
Well, they're not that insightful, really. They're pretty basic, but all of us have questions that we like to ask students, get to know them. And so in the early years, I had these long lists of questions. And when I began to put them together, it just seemed like there were certain constructs that were repeated over and over again, and those became part of the college match self-survey.
Well, and obviously they've stood the test of time, because people they resonate not only with school counselors and people working with students, but the students themselves. And I think that's because I know I've used it for many, many years, and students have responded very well to them. What other tips or pieces of advice would you like to share with counselors or those that are working with students?
Advice. I think that spending time getting to know a student is really time well spent. I think it's very easy to think of a student as a GPA and as a test score, as opposed to thinking about a student on the basis of personalities and interests and values and beliefs. So certainly one of my hopes is that that IECs use and school counselors use the self-survey, but also spend time to get to know a student. I often, I will get a phone call and a parent will say, something like, I want you to know that Buffy is just a typical teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know what that means. There's just lots of qualities and differences in teenagers. And so I think it's important for all of us to really spend time thinking about who that student is, because I think the more we can verbalize what the student is like, the more we are likely to find the right college matches. I also think that talking about personality and beliefs and values and attitudes makes a student feel good regardless of her SAT or ACT. I think it demonstrates that we really care about the student, and the student, of course, is at the center of our work. So the fact that you will engage a student in some of these self-disclosure kinds of exercises really does improve the self-image of the student and helps us do our job.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you bring up a really good point too, because it's not only beneficial for the student or for the advisor, but also for the parents, and helps give them some insights. And, I always try to emphasize this is a family affair. And students are the ones going to college, but their parents are sending them, and it's a new experience for them too. And sometimes they really benefit hearing what the students' thoughts are on, or describing, giving parents an opportunity to describe their child, really benefits as both the student and the parents and you as an advisor, because then you get to see some of the family dynamics and interactions, and it becomes it can become a really reaffirming experience for the students as well. Have you found that to be the case?
Absolutely. And I find that sharing the self-survey results, so to speak, with parents can be very helpful. Sometimes surprising to them.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did want to say about the self-survey, and it's pretty obvious, but there's no right or wrong on that survey. There's not there aren't scores that are better. There are just insights, and so I think it's. Again, I think the self-survey is a conversation starter, and I hope that consultants use it as a conversation starter along with a lot of other things, along with the questions, good structured interviews with students, using resources. Big Future has a lot of good online materials. Educational Planner has some good ones. Paragon, Learning Styles. There's a whole bunch of things that can be used along with the College Match self-survey to really hone in on who the student is. Remember that a good college choice is dependent upon knowing the student well, being very clear about what the student is looking for in college, and then putting those two together.
I think that's great. That becomes a really good rule of thumb for us to use as we're explaining what we're doing and why it's important, and what impact it can have. So I love that. So if somebody wants to purchase your book or learn more about either one, the College Match or College Finder, where should they go?
Well, you're very nice to ask me that question, and you're also very nice, Cyndy, to to be using the College Match self-survey and to be such a great supporter and friend. The best way to get, well, the book, it probably from Amazon is probably the best. Barnes and Noble has it as well, but Amazon, for discounts or for courtesy copies, my website, which is schoolbuff.com, that's schoolbuff.com. Those would be the ways to get the to get the book.
That sounds perfect. And we'll post this on our website so people have access to it as well.
And I also want to, I do want to say that in the 25 years that this book has been out, I have benefited greatly from all of my colleagues who have sent me new questions to ask for the self-survey and other things about College Match that will make it stronger. So anyone listening today who has an idea or a question that may be that I should put in the next edition, please send them my way.
Oh, that's fabulous. That would be, and it just shows that this is an ever evolving process, that we're never standing still, and it's never once and done, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to seeing you at upcoming conferences.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.